The invisible fire, awakening the forgotten calling within you. What if everything you've ever dismissed as coincidence was actually a whisper from the universe, and trying to show you who you really are? We live in a world saturated with noise, social media, constant notifications, schedules, routines, and expectations. But beneath all of that, there is a soft rhythm, a pulse, a call that has echoed from the moment you were born. It's the pulse of your deeper purpose. And if you've ever felt like you didn't quite belong, like there was something different about you, like you were meant for something more, then this message isn't just for you. It's about you. I'm not saying you're special in the way society throws that word around. I'm saying you might be one of the visionary chosen ones. Not chosen by a committee, a religion, or a hierarchy, but chosen by something far more ancient and intelligent, life itself. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt a deep yearning that nothing external could satisfy? Even in your happiest moments, was there still a whisper behind the joy asking, "Is this all there is?" That's not dissatisfaction. That's the first sign. That's your inner compass vibrating, trying to reorient you toward the path you were born to walk. But most people ignore the signs. Why? Because the signs are subtle. They don't scream. They don't flash. They present themselves in the quietest moments, when you're staring into the sky, when you feel chills for no reason, when you hear a sentence that hits you harder than it should. It can be in a dream, in a song, in a stranger's eyes. The chosen ones recognize these as more than just moments. They are messages. I remember when I first felt it. I was in a situation that looked perfect on the outside. I had what people called success. But inside, I felt like a ghost drifting through someone else's life. One day, in total silence, I sat still for hours. It wasn't meditation. It wasn't a technique. It was surrender. That's when I heard it, not with my ears, but with something deeper. A simple knowing, this isn't where you're meant to stay. That's when I realized something profound. The chosen ones often go through life backwards. While the world climbs ladders, we descend into ourselves. While others chase more, we seek less noise, less distraction, less illusion.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Have you ever lost everything, money, friends, direction, and instead of panic, you felt a strange peace? That's another sign, because when the illusions fall away, the chosen ones see more clearly. We begin to feel the sacredness in emptiness. Let me ask you now, when you were a child, what did you know about yourself that the world made you forget? That one question can unravel decades of conditioning. Because the visionary chosen ones are often born with clarity. But the world parents, teachers, systems trains it out of us. We're told to be realistic, to fit in, to follow the map. But we weren't born to follow. We were born to remember. And remembering is painful, because it means shedding all the layers of who you thought you had to be. It means facing the fact that most of your life might have been lived in someone else's dream. But here's the gift. The moment you dare to remember, the universe begins to move. Synchronicities multiply. People and opportunities appear that match your true frequency. And that's not magic. That's alignment. You see, the visionary chosen one isn't someone better than others. It's someone who chooses to see through the veil, to see the patterns, to see the truth behind appearances. But with vision comes responsibility. You will no longer be able to lie to yourself. You will no longer be able to settle. You will no longer be able to participate in the sleepwalk of society. That's why many chosen ones resist the call, because once you answer it, there's no going back. So I ask you again, are you prepared to lose everything you thought you were in order to become what you truly are? This path isn't easy. You will be misunderstood. You will be judged. You might even feel like you're going crazy. But hear me, you're not going crazy. You're waking up in a world that's still asleep. And in that awakening, you will discover something no job title, no relationship, no possession can give you clarity. The clarity of knowing your place in the web of existence. The clarity of knowing that your life is not a random occurrence, but a deliberate thread in the fabric of something far more immense than you can imagine. So how do you know if you're the visionary chosen one? You've always felt on the edge of two worlds, one foot in the material realm, one foot in the unseen. You felt emotions so deeply, they overwhelm you not because you're weak, but because you're tuned in. You've seen things others miss, patterns, energies, truths hiding in plain sight. You've known things you were never taught, intuitions, dreams, knowings that couldn't be explained. And maybe, just maybe, you've been waiting for someone to confirm what you've always secretly suspected, that you're not broken. You're not lost. You're not too sensitive. You're ready. Ready to reclaim your vision. Ready to stop ignoring the signs. Ready to stop hiding. Because here's the truth. The world is starving for visionaries. For those who can see beyond the chaos and imagine what's truly possible. For those who aren't afraid to walk alone. For those who carry the light into the places others fear to go. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to say yes. Say yes to the signs. Say yes to the mystery. Say yes to the fire that never went out, even when life tried to smother it. And if you're still watching, still listening, that's because something in you recognizes this not as entertainment, but as initiation. The signs you've ignored were never outside of you. They were always inside. Is that ache in your chest, that tear you couldn't explain, that dream you couldn't forget. They were your inner self, your higher self, your true self, calling you home. So I'll ask you one final question for now, a question that only you can answer. If you are the chosen one, then what were you chosen to do? Sit with it, walking through fire, the sacred trials that awaken the visionary within. Breathe it in. Let it break you open. Because in the next part of this journey, we will dive into the real test of the visionary, what happens when your inner calling clashes with the outer world, and how to survive it. Walking through fire, the sacred trials that awaken the visionary within. If you've made it this far, then something deep inside you has responded to the call. Not just curiosity, but resonance, a remembering. And now comes the part most people never talk about. The moment you begin to awaken to your vision, to your purpose, to your own sacred identity, life doesn't suddenly get easier. In fact, it often becomes more chaotic, more confusing, more intense. Because the moment you accept that you are the visionary chosen one, the universe begins to test you, not to punish you, but to refine you. Think about this. Fire doesn't destroy gold. It purifies it. And you are gold. But what does that fire look like? It looks like losing things you thought you couldn't live without. It looks like being misunderstood by the people you love the most. It looks like questioning your sanity because you see truths that no one else around you seems to see. You might find yourself alone, not because the world has rejected you, but because you are being called to a higher solitude, a space where you can hear what can only be heard in silence. And here's the paradox. The visionary path is both the most lonely and the most connected experience you'll ever have. You'll feel the ache of separation from the familiar, but also the overwhelming intimacy with the cosmos, with life itself, and with the divine intelligence that breathes through everything. Why does this happen? Because every chosen one must undergo a death before the rebirth. Not a physical death, a death of illusion, a death of the false self, a death of roles, masks, and expectations. You cannot carry your old self into your new life. So the trials come, not to destroy you, but to peel away everything that isn't truly you. You will be stripped, and in that stripping, the raw truth of who you are will be revealed. Let me ask you something impossible. What if the worst thing that ever happened to you was the exact thing that cracked you open to your destiny? What if your heartbreak, your failure, your betrayal were not detours, but sacred initiations? What if you didn't go through all that pain for no reason? You see, the visionary path is not about escaping suffering. It's about transmuting it, turning lead into gold, pain into wisdom, wounds into portals. You are an alchemist, and the fire you walk through is your forge. The world has told us to avoid discomfort, to reach for pleasure, safety, convenience. But the visionary chosen one is not here for comfort. We are here for truth, and truth costs everything. It costs fitting in. It costs being liked. It costs approval. But in return, it gives you something untouchable: freedom. Freedom from the matrix. Freedom from illusion. Freedom from the constant need to be anything other than who you really are. And from that space, your vision becomes clear. You're not here to copy anyone else's path. You're not here to chase someone else's dream. You are here to create something that has never existed before, because it can only come through you. But here's the twist: your vision will scare you. It will feel too big, too risky, too wild. That's how you'll know it's real. Because the true visions, the ones sourced from the soul, always demand that we grow beyond who we've been. They don't fit within our comfort zone. They shatter it. You might be thinking, who am I to do this? But let me flip that. Who are you not to? Who are you to deny the very gift life has tried to give you over and over again? Who are you to keep playing small when your soul came here to expand? Every time you ignore your vision, you shrink. Not because you're weak, but because you're out of alignment. You're fighting gravity. But when you say yes fully, completely, unapologetically, you tap into something beyond yourself. You become a conduit, a vessel, a bridge between worlds. Ideas come to you that you didn't think you were capable of. People are drawn to you not for what you do, but for who you've become. Synchronicity becomes your language. You begin to walk with a quiet power, not the power of dominance, but the power of presence. And yes, the trials will continue, but you'll start to see them differently. You'll realize that each challenge is tailor-made to strengthen a part of you that your vision requires. If your vision involves speaking truth, life will put you in situations where you must find your voice. If your vision involves leading others, life will test your integrity, your humility, your clarity. If your vision involves healing, life will break you open so that you know what it means to hurt and to rise. The fire never stops. But over time, you stop fearing it. You start walking into it willingly, because you understand fire is not the enemy. Fire is the teacher. And through that fire, you become something rare. You become real. Let me ask you another question, and this one might burn. If you had no fear of failure, no fear of judgment, no fear of loss, what would you do right now? What vision is hiding behind your excuses? What dream have you buried under someday? The visionary chosen one doesn't wait for permission. We become the permission. We don't wait for the world to understand us. We understand ourselves. We don't wait until we're ready. We begin, and readiness follows. Because here's the truth, you'll never feel fully ready. That's the trap. The mind will always find reasons to delay. But the soul knows the time is now. So what's the next step? It doesn't have to be massive. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be real. Maybe it's writing the first sentence of a book. Maybe it's speaking your truth to someone who needs to hear it. Maybe it's ending what no longer serves you. Maybe it's simply sitting still and listening, truly listening to what your soul has been trying to tell you for years. Whatever it is, don't ignore it. Because every time you say not yet, you're postponing the alignment of your entire life. And trust me, the world can't afford for you to delay anymore. We are at a tipping point, collectively. The old systems are collapsing. The old stories are crumbling. And the new world is waiting to be dreamed into being. But it won't come from governments. It won't come from institutions. It will come from visionaries like you. People who are brave enough to walk through the fire. The light you carry, becoming the visionary the world has been waiting for. To rise from the ashes. To build something timeless from the truth of who they are. So ask yourself, am I willing to lose everything that isn't real in order to gain everything that is? The light you carry, becoming the visionary the world has been waiting for. You've walked through the fire. You've been broken open. You've stared into the void, and maybe for the first time, the void stared back and didn't scare you. Now, this is where the path changes. This is where the visionary chosen one becomes more than a seeker. This is where you become a beacon. You see, the fire wasn't the end of the journey. It was the beginning. It was the cleansing, the stripping, the sacred undoing of all you were never meant to carry. Now, with the ashes behind you, the question becomes, what will you build? This is the part nobody can do for you. The awakening, the remembering that can be sparked through words, visions, synchronicities. But embodiment, that's sacred work. It's daily work. It's moment-to-moment commitment. And it's where most people fall. Because the light you now carry isn't just for you. It's for the world. But first you have to own it. You have to stop shrinking around people who don't understand your depth. You have to stop apologizing for feeling things intensely, for seeing things others can't, for knowing things you were never taught. You have to stop waiting for someone outside of you to validate what you already know inside. Let me make it clear, being the visionary chosen one doesn't mean you'll always be understood. It means you'll often be ahead, and being ahead doesn't feel like power at first. It feels like isolation. It feels like doubt. It feels like being in a room full of people who are asleep while you're wide awake. But that's not a curse. That's your gift. You were born to see the invisible. And that means you were born to build what hasn't been built yet. That's the true role of the visionary, not to escape the world, but to remake it. Not to blend in, but to lead out. Leadership in this sense isn't about control. It's about coherence, alignment, integrity. It's about how deeply you can live your truth when no one is watching. Your vision will not survive if it lives only in your mind. You must give it form. You must give it breath. You must become the living embodiment of it, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's unpopular, even when it costs you. And it will cost you. It will cost you smallness. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you the version of yourself who is acceptable to everyone but authentic to no one, especially yourself. But in return, you gain everything. You gain peace. Not surface level, temporary peace, but the kind of peace that comes from alignment. From knowing, at a soul level, that you are living the life you were born to live. You gain clarity. Decisions become easier because your compass is internal, not external. You gain magnetism. People will begin to feel something in your presence. They won't always understand it, but they'll be drawn to it. That's because when you live from your vision, you emit a frequency that others can feel. A frequency they've been longing for but didn't know how to access. And perhaps most importantly, you gain impact. Not the performative kind, not the kind that tries to go viral, but the kind that touches souls. The kind that shifts the atmosphere of a room. The kind that changes lives not by preaching, but by being. So the question becomes, how do you live from this place every day? It starts with commitment, not to perfection, not to always getting it right, but to returning again and again to your core. Every morning you wake up and ask, what does my vision require of me today? Not, what does the world want from me? Not, what will make me fit in? But what does the deepest part of me know is true, and how can I live that? And then you act on it. You speak when it would be easier to stay silent. You rest when the world says hustle. You create when self-doubt tells you you're not ready. You say no when your boundaries are tested. You say yes when your soul lights up. And over time, something sacred happens. You stop living from reaction and start living from creation. You stop being a victim of circumstance and remember that you are a visionary, a conscious co-creator of reality. This doesn't mean you won't face challenges. You will. In fact, the more aligned you become, the more life will test your capacity to hold that alignment under pressure. But something will be different now. You won't collapse. You'll expand. Because you'll know that every challenge is an invitation to embody more of your truth. And here's where it gets real. The visionary chosen one is not just here to live a beautiful life. We are here to serve, not from martyrdom, not from obligation, but from overflow. Because when you are full of truth, full of presence, full of vision, you can't help but share it. You become a lighthouse. And here's the miracle. Your presence becomes medicine for others. You don't have to fix them. You don't have to save them. You simply become a living permission slip for them to remember who they are. And that's how the world changes. Not through systems alone, not through force, but through frequency, through a critical mass of awakened individuals living their vision so fully, so boldly, so unapologetically, that it creates a new template for what's possible. That's the revolution. But it begins with you. So I'll ask you now, what does your vision look like? Not the polished version, the real version. The one that terrifies you because it's so true. The one you've never said out loud because it feels too sacred. The one that's been knocking at your door every night when you try to fall asleep. What if that vision wasn't random? What if it was entrusted to you not because you're better than anyone else, but because you're willing to see, willing to feel, willing to become? And if you don't live it, who will? If you don't say yes, what will the world miss out on? Because your vision isn't just about you. It's connected to a larger tapestry, a web of dreams, missions, and callings that are all interlinked. When you say yes to your vision, you activate others. You create ripples. You light torches. You become part of the great remembering. We are not here to survive. We're here to serve something eternal. We're not here to compete. We're here to contribute. And every time you live your truth, the collective frequency rises. So don't you dare dim your light. Don't you dare hide your vision. Don't you dare pretend you're not ready. Because you are. You always were. The signs you've been ignoring weren't sent to tease you. They were sent to prepare you, and to remind you, to wake you up. And now you are awake. So what now? Now you walk. You walk your truth. You walk your vision. You walk your embodiment. And you keep walking through doubt, through resistance, through fear until your life becomes the very message you were born to deliver. This is the path of the visionary chosen one. And if you've heard these words and felt them not just in your mind, but in your bones, then you already know this is your path. You are the one you've been waiting for. You are the light the world has been longing for. And the time is not tomorrow. The time is now. So rise. Not because you're sure. Not because you're ready. But because your soul has already decided, and all that's left is for you to catch up. Let the world see what happens when a human being stops pretending and starts embodying. Let the world feel the vibration of someone who chooses vision over fear, truth over comfort, soul over ego. And when they ask you how you did it, how you found your path, how you became who you are, look them in the eye and say, I stopped ignoring the signs. I remembered who I am. I walked through the fire. And I chose to carry the light, because I am the visionary chosen one. And now, so are you. End.